it's supposed to be. It's about you being open to going a direction that you didn't expect, that may very well then take you another direction and another direction. Just like the sailor knows intuitively he or she must do in order to reach the goal. Longer life, joy, health, without going through the pitfalls or the holes that you might fall in, or the wrong scenarios being presented so that you have to get out of them, or heartbreak. All of these things are in the field, dear ones. All of these things are avoidable if you pay attention to which way the wind is blowing. These are metaphors that I'm asking you to translate into action for you. And the way truly is allowance of these things in your life. Dear Spirit, calm me down a bit so I will allow for things I don't expect. And then when they happen, I'll understand, and I'll follow that direction for a while, and perhaps change it for a while. But all of these things I will trust. They're the field, they're the wind, blowing in the directions to take me exactly where I should go. I give you these things in love. I'm crying in love with you, in love with the planet, in love with the humanity that is on it, because there are so many good things about to occur. Truly, things are better than they seem in so many ways. It is time to claim your magnificence and find your joy, all doable. And so it is. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. There are so many things that I'd love to discuss with you in these new times. The things that have occurred just even recently, not only on the planet but with you, are miraculous. And you might say, well, I haven't seen any miracles on the planet. Really? Light is starting to shine itself. Darkness is reacting in ways it never did before. We've said this before. That's a miracle. It's a miracle because it changes the status quo. A status quo which has been the same for hundreds of years. This is the beginning of a new planet. But more than that. We've given you some things in the past to consider, including the seed planting that we gave you in the Circle of 12. We're going to start developing some ideas around those seeds. Some a bit obscure, perhaps some that will be targeted to what you already know. This one is something you should hear. For many, many years, we've talked about your magnificence and the potential of mastery on this planet. How many of you can define mastery? You might say, well, the only model I have is what I've read and been taught of the masters on the planet of old. Many of them walked here and they did miraculous things. That's mastery. It goes way beyond that. Look at your favorite master. We've said this before. What have you been told? What's your intuition? What would it have been like to sit next to that person, he or she? One who was called a master, or saint perhaps. One who was seen as someone who could do beautiful miracles, but more than that. I told you once that where masters walk, flowers grow. Where masters walk, animals come and sit at their feet. Because there's nothing like that, which is the consciousness of an ascended master. It's not by their works that you know them. It's by who they are and their consciousness and how it feels to be around them. Whatever master you can conjure up that you know of, or perhaps at one time have worshipped, or to this day look up to, they all had that. A consciousness that was so high that humans simply wanted to be with them, to sit at their feet. What was in common with all of the masters? I'll tell you. It's not something historians will necessarily tell you. All of them laughed. All of them. They were joyful. Dear ones, I was there. There are some secrets of mastery that you've never been told. They're put on a pedestal. You hear about their works. You read it in Scripture. But do you know the human? I'll tell you, if you could see them, if you could sit next to them, talk to them, you'd find out that they emanate a field of love. It's so strong that anyone in that field is affected in a most beautiful way possible. Some are healed simply by sitting next to them, because the cellular structure of a human is then filled with their love. It's dissolved into their DNA, you might say. That's mastery. Is it for you? Now, there are those who will say, mastery will be attainable someday on this planet because Kryon has said there will be an ascended consciousness eventually. I want to give you a secret, a hint. Consciousness does not ascend by itself. It's pushed. It's pushed and accelerated by old souls who start to understand mastery. Who start to understand that who they are, what they do, and how they act goes right to a field around them as well as the field we've talked about for years, and changes it. And that it sticks. I'll tell you something else that we have said over and over, that light cancels dark. And here's what I want to tell you about that. If you have negativity in a room and you felt it, it can be dissipated almost immediately with light, with laughter, with understanding, with forgiveness. And that light and that understanding and forgiveness, that stays there. Very few can stay mad. You have to try hard to stay mad. But it's easy to stay in love. It truly is. When love is always there, and love is seen in all of its majesty and its glory and its beauty and its joy, it stays there. It sticks to the walls. It sticks to the floor. It sticks to you. It sticks to others around you. That's metaphoric, of course. But what I'm telling you is that mastery, you got to work on it right now. Do you see yourself in a potential suit of a master suit? More metaphors. The superhero of mastery, with a cape included, if you want to. Anything you can visualize. Do you see yourself or not? The first key to becoming anything other than what you are, the first key to seeing mastery in your life, is to see yourself as part of it. There are so many who say, well, it's unattainable. Why should I try? Or perhaps you've been taught that you shouldn't try. Perhaps you've been taught that you are a lowly human, and that only masters who have a godly self could do these things. And perhaps you're not able to because you've been taught that you have that which is a darkness, a dirtiness. It's a human trait, and you came with it. That's trained. That's not truth. That's trained. That's not how it is. You come equipped with love. Your soul that we take you to so often, it comes in with love. Your society is very good at training you out of it. Not the kind of love that a parent has for a child, dear one. That's beautiful. That's lovely. And so many of you are fortunate to have that. Love in your life from a partner, from a pet. So many of you are so fortunate to have that. No, I'm talking about what comes in with you, with your soul, which tells you you're beautiful. That from your soul which tells you that the next step as you grow up is to create mastery in your life. That is intuitive. That is who you are. Did you know that? If this is the first time you heard that, I want you to take that in right now. You came in with the equipment of mastery. Most of the masters on this planet, they didn't walk around saying, I'm light and you're not. They didn't say that. Almost everything a master said or told you or wrote or told their disciples was, look at me. This is what you can be. Look at me. Look at what I am and what I do. I'm a human being, just like you. This is you if you want it. You all come in, you might say, as sons and daughters of the creative source. You are a soul first and a human second. And somehow the training has been all the dirtiness of the human that cannot somehow get to God. Who constructed that for you? I want you to think about deconstructing that in your life. You are masters, the potentials of the future, every single one. Tonight, in the Circle of 12, I won't give it away completely. But I'm going to continue this in this meditation of the Circle of 12, and what you can do about it, and how to proceed. Every single one of you have mastery in your future if you wish. Some kind of mastery. A change of life that then will affect others around you. The beauty of love that will seem to penetrate everywhere you go like a bubble. Wherever you move, wherever you stand, people will see it's safe to be around you. It's a good thing that you're there. They'll laugh. They'll love with you. That's the beginning of mastery. When you have that, everything else is possible. Is that for you? Do you see the mastery suit hanging in the closet, dear one? Or not? That's the first step. See yourself there. See it as you. And then it will happen. I'm crying in love with humanity. And so it is.
Okay, so if you would come into a meditative, receptive position, I like to ask people to turn their palms up on their lap and just let those energy centers open. And close your eyes for a moment. Take a nice breath in. And again, inhale through the nose. Exhale. Good. How about one more? Inhale. Nice. And then just bring your awareness inside your skin, into the island of your body, the individual, uniquely beautiful you island that is sitting in your chair, in the room full of this sea of humanity, of family. And feel the love in the room and the connection that's been created here today. Feel the healings that have been received just by your willingness, your intention to be here in the chair, to be with your beautiful family, to be reminded of the love of God that you are, that you walk forward with every step that you take. And let the island of your body just dissolve in that consciousness of light and awareness and the love of God. And the love of Kryon that lives inside and lives outside, that walks among us, that breathes with us, that feels our joys and our sorrows and honors the human that we have chosen to live as in this life.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. And once again, my partner steps aside. We described it before, a process that honors the human being. A process which requires that the human being remain where he is and shares the experience so he will feel it and know it. But he removes himself from the three-dimensional portal of the pineal. For in the moments that this takes place, it is not a gland. It is a meta-dimensional, multi-dimensional, beyond-dimensional portal. And it allows that which is the creative source inside you to expand. It is channeling. It is available. Always has been. In this new energy, however, it is available for the new information, the new thought, in new processes which are coming your way. Before we begin the message, and anything that is going to be taught in any combination, I just want to take a moment. What is your perception? of what's going on here. Is it possible that there is an intelligent source in your universe, in your galaxy, that has helped put together what you see here? Is it possible that there is a plan that is benevolent to the human being because the human being is part of that creative source? Is it possible that you're never alone? And we've said those words for many years. Is it possible that the family is a little different than you think? Maybe it's even larger than you think. Is it possible that the message I'm about to give you is accurate, true, and real from a source that we claim to be not from this body of this human being? It took him a long time to understand that there was no trick here. It took him a long time because the box he came out of said there would be. That the box said there are consequences for what you're doing. That God doesn't talk to humans this way. That it could be a trick. And that the darkness of the planet wishes to invade your soul. And he learned quickly that every single time he opened this gland, and the pineal became the portal for the higher self, he got the love of God. That's all he got. And it's pure. The purest thing he has ever experienced. It is always the same. It has never tainted itself. It has never biased itself. It has never told a human to do something out of integrity. It is always congratulatory. More than benevolent. It's family. Never changing. 23 years. That's the way it should be, dear ones. And if you need some kind of proof that this is real, maybe, just maybe, you would open that part of your heart that you have the ability to open and say, I would like to feel something. I would like perhaps some validation within my cells that this is correct. And you would begin then to feel the chills that you can only get when you know the truth is being revealed. And the truth is, I know you. I know your lives. I know what you're going through. Oh, soul, you are known to me. We have done so much together. You have not seen my face or my name. I'm with you all the time. And when I say I mean the entourage, which is in that, which you would count them to be trillions, knowing who you are, standing with you in the hardest times you have, through the tears, through the sorrow, and celebrating in those moments where you choose to toast victory. And sometimes the victory is health, and sometimes the victory is solutions over problems you had for a lifetime. We know you are. You're never alone. There is a system that my partner has taught about for years. It's a system we have mentioned in countless channels. But we've never really dedicated a channel to this system in the way we're doing today. That includes the new energy of today, because this is a system most of you don't even know how to use. Some of you use it all the time. You just don't know what you're doing. It's not intuitive. It's going to be the truth about synchronicity. And we'll subtitle it The Demise of the Bell-Shaped Curve. When something happens to you that is good, your friends around you will say, what a lucky person you are. What are the chances that this would have happened to you? When you go into a difficult situation, and perhaps it's even something that is common to humanity and in your culture, like surgery, and you will come out with such marvelous results, and they'll say, well, this is beyond our expectations, and what lucky person you are. And then you do it over and over. Or you go someplace and you meet just the right person who knows somebody else who just has the right information, and you end up with exactly what you wanted. What are the chances, they'll say, of this taking place? What a lucky person you are. Because humans do not see the structure of synchronicity. They see a structure of planning, forward-looking. And that is the only way you can achieve things. And in that puzzle, they even will mention positive thought. But that still is planning in a linear fashion so that you will arrive at a goal. And no matter what kind of process you have studied that will get you from A to B, there's got to be a goal. And in some of those, you will take the goal and you will paste it upon the refrigerator so you'll see it every day. And this is a linear human being. What if I told you there is a process that is not linear, that has no goal at all? Not one in linearity, but one in conceptualism. A conceptual goal that says, "Dear God, put me in the right place. I don't know where it is. Dear God, when you do it, make it comfortable for me. Let me see the sense of it. Make it easy. And bring me the right situations to take me there." How about that? And if you told that to someone off the street, they would say, "You must be New Age. For it is not logical. For you sit in a place where you're expecting God to do everything." No, you're not. And that is the subject of today. No, you're not. You are simply changing the box of belief to include something that is not in 3D, but that some of you have been using for a very long time. You're just not aware of it. So today's lecture, that's what we're calling it. My partner liked that. Is about the power of synchronicity, the truth about it. What it is, where it comes from, who's involved in it, and what you can do to promote it. The human being creates it in their belief, and that is how it starts. Now, this comes from my partner who loves to talk about the parking angel. Because this is the example he uses, so we'll do the same thing. Many light workers love to use that which they conceive as a special angel which has powers with cars. And that special angel will sit above the car, raise himself up, and see in a giant parking lot who is pulling out and where it's taking place. And you will assign your power to the parking angel, and you will find where somebody is pulling out, and it works. Now, this is not forward planning, is it? It is a different concept. It's a concept that you could place yourself, or an angel which becomes your eyes, far above the parking lot to see the parameters of the entire lot and what is going on with everyone at the same time. And if that were possible, then you, in 3D, could direct your automobile to the right aisle and the right place to find that space at the right time, especially if you're in a line with others, to arrive when somebody is pulling out. And it works. Over and over it works. It works because this is the definition of synchronicity. Not planning ahead, but a concept that you assign and believe in that requires an overview of a situation that you cannot have in 3D. Synchronicity. Now, I cannot close this parking angel attribute without giving you the rest of the story that my partner demands I give you. There is no such thing as the parking angel. It's you assigning your power to a mythological creature with a P on its chest. And humans are very good at this. They don't believe they can do it, but they believe angelic powers can do it. Therefore, they assign their power away. It's you doing it, dear one. It's you doing it. You just don't believe it. So here we are with the example. It's the same one we've given over and over, my partner has given, that I've encouraged him to give because it is the one that so many of you understand. Now let us put that in a larger capacity. The scale of life and living. Here you find yourself in a situation where you wish to move forward into an area you don't know about. All you want to do is park. And when you park, that is a metaphor for putting the vehicle of the human being in a place that is appropriate for your life, wherever that would be. It gets you there so you can move on with what you came for. That is the metaphor. Humans have an idea where that would be. It's normal for you to build goals. I want to write a book. I want to create a healing center. I have this. I want to have that. It is absolutely normal. The first question I have to ask you is, are you okay if it is not what you think? Is it okay if it's better? Is it okay if it matches the Akash you came for? And the talents you have that perhaps you're not even aware of? Here's how it works. This is the how in 3D. You come to a meeting like this and you meet somebody for the first time. You didn't come with them. You meet them in a place in the back or in the bathroom. And you get to talking and you find out you have common interests. And then anything can happen. They have information you need. Or you have something they need. And you leave with a connection you didn't expect. And the connection leads to something else. For they know people that you don't know. Vice versa. You would call them, meet with them, if you wish. And here comes something that you didn't expect. You find yourself working in an area you didn't expect to work in, that fulfills a lot of the things that you wanted. Sometimes you come with no expectations at all and you meet a partner of life. This happens over and over because you decided to come to where family is. Over and over, human beings have resigned themselves to being alone because nobody believes what they do. And they'll come to a meeting of like minds and find somebody that does. Life's changes, romance, synchronicity. They didn't plan it. You see the difference? The human who steps out of the door on a way to this meeting, what do? I'm getting ahead of myself. What do? It's going to be a good meeting. Let's give it energy. Let's show up. Let's have a good time. Let's leave. Or, dear Spirit, if I'm supposed to meet somebody, then let me have the wherewithal to at least look for it. Do you see the difference here? One is planning. One is expecting concepts that you cannot define. Concepts you cannot define, which would guide your life into a place you didn't expect. I am sitting in a room with old souls, and at least a quarter of you know exactly what I'm talking about. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive.
Dear Creator, inside, come closer. Dear Creator, outside, come closer. Dear angels, guides, helpers, elementals of Gaia, come closer. Let me feel your support and connection. Meld with that piece of me that wants to have spiritual help come into my life, and make it in a form that I can understand and feel. I give permission and allowance for the Creator to come closer, for my angels and my guides to come closer. I accept the unconditional love that is pouring forth to me. And I give honor and thanks for this moment where I have said yes to sit and listen to the divine messages from Kryon.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. When we started this series, I told you that I would present 4 facets or faces of compassion. There are many faces or facets of compassion, and we would look at 4. Some common, some more difficult. This is the 3rd one. Of all of the 4 we studied, this catalytic one. The catalyst means the 3, that is, the change that is coming, if you can understand this one, is the hardest. It's the hardest because it has to do with you personally. Let us do what we have done the last 2 times. We're going to give you a definition of compassion. And the definition that we give is not necessarily the one that you'll find in your society, in your dictionaries, because it comes from us. What is, in your opinion, the highest form of compassion? And that would be the one that comes from the other side of the veil. That can be transferred, assumed, and be part of you and assimilated, because your soul is part of the creative source. I would like to give you yet again the definition of compassion. As we see it, compassion is the connection with the mind of spirit, the mind that of God, if you wish, of the creative source, a connection with the creative source, which allows a meld to occur that gives you the energy of mature benevolence, of open-heartedness, and an understanding of all that is around you. I'm going to say it again. Perhaps the words may change a little for you to hear it again and again and again. Compassion is the connection with the creative source, with God, that allows for a meld to occur that would give you the energy of open-heartedness, that would create benevolent, mature feelings that let you have an understanding that is beyond that which you've had before. What to do with that is next. Because in this, the 3rd series of the facets or faces of compassion, is compassion for yourself. Now, if you recall the first 2, well, they're a little easier. Although the subjects were different. This subject is about you. If we would talk about one of the most difficult things for a human to do, it would be to understand how to love themselves. That's another channel. But within the scope of that, there is this: having compassion for yourself. There would be those who say, Kryon, I'm not even sure I know the difference. There would be those who say, I don't even know where to begin. You'd be right. It's difficult to look at yourself in this fashion. Almost all consciousnesses, especially of the human being, start with survival. And after that, even after you have the maturity of the enlightened spirit that so many of you have, you're still looking at yourself in a total different way. There's so many, understandably, who go through life and they fight all the way. Things happen and they don't understand. And when the things happen, they feel, well, I don't know what I've done wrong, or perhaps I'm a victim. Perhaps this lifetime nobody's going to care about me. And it goes on and on and on. And then you'll say, well, how do I have compassion for myself? If that's the case, how am I going to have compassion for myself? And then they would say, well, I know how. I'll feel sorry for myself. That's it. I feel sorry for me. I'm compassionate for me. Do you remember the first lesson? It's not pity, dear ones. Compassion is not pity. We gave you the definition. Compassion is not feeling sorry for yourself or for anyone else. Oh, no. So here we are with the idea that you can have a compassion for yourself. What have you been through? It doesn't matter how long you've lived. Young person, senior, it doesn't matter. You've all gone through things that perhaps create your feeling of being less than, or beat up perhaps, or down. It is common to all consciousnesses, even as you grow up. Can you look at your life so far and say, I have gone through a lot and I'm still here? In fact, I am learning how to be more kind to myself. You might say that because that is the lesson, is it not? This is what we teach, is it not? That's what the circle of 12 is all about. You sit in the chair and you start to see yourself in a different light. Can you have compassion for your journey? Again, connection with the mind of God and the meld of benevolence and understanding. Open-heartedness for yourself. Can you stand back and look at, your name goes here, and say, wow, what a life. What have you been through it? You know what I'm talking about. There's an expression that I want to remind you of that we've used before. It's iron sharpens iron. Have you been sharpened lately? And if you have, can you have compassion for you in the situation, not as a victim, but as a victor? Being victorious in the light of having so many things happen and going through it and coming out the other side, as you must have, even to watch this. Wow, that's impressive. You can have compassion, connecting with the mind of God and seeing yourself and being open-hearted about it, benevolent about it. Seeing yourself perhaps sitting in the chair and addressing yourself and say, I have compassion for this soul who has been through these things and has survived as a victor, not as a victim. Passing from victim to victory is that essence of having compassion for yourself. I invite some of you to hear this again so that you'll understand what I'm saying, what I'm talking about. The hardest thing for you to do is to step back from yourself. We have asked you to love yourself. You can love yourself because of what you've been through and because of that which is truly your sacred consciousness. And you'd be right to do so. You're a creature of the Creator, loved by the Creator. And that gives you the ability to be compassionate for yourself as well. I'll say it again. Compassion is the catalyst that creates things. If you can have compassion for these things that we are teaching you this month, what happens next is special. Did you know that compassion is the trigger that eliminates fear? If you are a compassionate person, you look at things completely different, including yourself. Let's say you step off into some unknown place or think something startling happens, or perhaps even something negative happens. Can you then stop, back up, and go, I got through that one. Wow. Iron sharpens iron. Can you look at yourself in a series of victorious events as you conquer the fear and you conquer that which is negative around you? It's the opposite of so many who fall into that pattern. Every time something happens, they say, oh, here it is again. What's going to happen again? Is it, oh, here it is again. I can never get ahead. We're telling you, dear one, that is not your legacy. That's not why you're here. You're here to conquer every one of those things and move into a light that then creates situations that you didn't expect. If you can have compassion, that is an element of God. And that element starts to grow with you, and then it becomes second nature to you. That not only will you have compassion for others and the plan and the things that we have told you in the first two, but now you come to yourself. And when you start to have compassion for yourself, here it comes. The healing begins. The cells of your body, the diseases that might be there, the things you think are coming your way, genetically, all start to go away. Because you have chosen to be compassionate with that which is you. Your name goes here. That's when the healing starts. That's when you wipe away all of the things that would get in the way of your healing, your extended life. I've spoken of these things before. The more compassionate a person you can be, the more times you'll find yourself in the right place at the right time for synchronous things that you've always prayed for. This is the love we speak of that is possible with the sacred compassion that comes with the human being. It's in your soul. It's ready to go. You just got to learn to use it and to work with it. And the more you do, the better it gets. On the 4 faces or facets of compassion, this one is the most difficult. Compassion for self. Congratulations if you've understood this particular message. For we give it with the compassion of love that God has for you. Your name goes here. And so it is. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching this. I wanted to tell you this is a little time sensitive. Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, it may seem like the man in the chair, but not the most of you. I am in a family right now in your 3-dimensional presence. You sit with me and I sit with you. And what this family has in common is that you're searching. And the search brings you to a place where you will sit and listen to those things which are advanced attributes of life. Where spiritually you are willing to think beyond that which is your reality. It makes you special. Special in this way, that not all of those who would be light workers on the planet would be willing to look beyond themselves in the way you are. And so you have spent the day doing things perhaps which are a bit against the grain of what you've been taught. Learning to listen to Spirit is one of them. Difficult, some cases impossible. You know who you are. Some of you have said fine, some of you have said not for me. I know who you are. And there is no judgment of any of this. If you have to step out of your comfort zone, dear ones, it is difficult. And if you never step out of your comfort zone, the same number of angels walk out with you as walk out with the healer. But it allows me to give an advanced message. And for those who may be listening, who are not of the same kind of advancement spiritually as those in the room, this may seem strange indeed. The message this evening is not long, but it deals with profundities, those things which are beyond that which are normal in 3D, and beyond that which even you think about, beyond that which you have been taught, and often flies in the face of all logic to the logical thinker. And who better to present these things than you? Who better to listen to these things than you? And should you accumulate the knowledge that is given this day, perhaps you, as the advanced one, the light worker, the old soul, would be then able to tell others in a succinct fashion about what you've learned. And so this is the kind of group, dear ones, that would elicit this kind of information. For as I've said before, Spirit through Kryon is going to give information that suits the moment for the ones who are before me. And so let me begin. Only 2 subjects we bring. Only 2. Quickly, but profoundly and different than you would expect. Let us talk about contracts. In a 3-dimensional world, you have developed a spiritual term, and you call it contract. Now, my partner today spoke about these things in the lecture time, but many who hear this now were not here. But I want to take it even further than that. And what he said was this: you cannot look at a 3-dimensional linear contract in a spiritual world, for it doesn't work. For you are learning to think in a more quantum way, that is to say, a way that is not 3D. A multi-dimensional attribute placed upon you and Spirit brings you to a place where you think differently, out of the logic you've been trained, All this to say that a contract is real. You come in with a yod, you come in with a purpose, you come in with something to accomplish. And you send a message to your three-dimensional self as you hear these things that says, I only have one. And it's my life's purpose. And nothing could be less linear. And it doesn't work that way. Kryon, would you please back up and give this to us in a way we can understand? Yes, I will. Let us state it clearly. There is no such thing as a lifelong contract. It cannot be this way. There are two things wrong with it. In a multidimensional state, it is always moving. In a multidimensional state, there is no singularity. Therefore, not only do you not have one contract for life, none of them are for life. In other words, you come in with multiples. Now, how can that be? I'll explain it now. And this is going to explain why some of you are so confused. If you are an old soul, let us talk about who you've been. Let us take one of you in the room who may be an orator, who may be an author. How many things have you excelled at in 1,000 lifetimes? Perhaps you're a woodworker, an artist, a musician, a sculptor, among other things. Not to mention the mother you've been sometimes, sir. And all of those things are in the soup of the now. And in you come on the planet, and as you develop as a child, your passions are all over the place. What are you going to do? And can you tell me at that point in time you're going to pick one and say, well, that's my contract? But you do. Because someone along the line told you in a question, what are you going to do with your life? And implied in that is, what one single thing are you going to do that's going to establish you? And that's the way you think, don't you? When you meet somebody for the first time and you're getting acquainted, they ask you this. They say, and what do you do? Isn't that interesting? How many human beings have you ever met for the first time and they would ask, and what have you done? How many things are you into? There's an assumption that you're singular. You do one thing and that's what your interest is. Oh, how 3D of you. And here's what I'm telling you. Multiple contracts lay upon you constantly, and they're only good for the time you want to do them. What if you should have an epiphany in your life and raise your vibration? There are those in the room who have had that. In fact, you could probably even tell me when it was. I know who's here. An epiphany in your life which had have caused you to think differently, to raise your vibration, and now you are someone else. You can even look back at who you used to be and go, I'm not that person anymore. Do you think for a moment that all of the things that laid upon you when you were in 20 years old, for instance, are now applicable still simply because there's only one thing to do? And the answer is, of course not. Well, then why are you still thinking you've got one contract? Is it possible you change them? And you do. Every single day, you have the opportunity of choosing any one of dozens of purposes you might have for yourself. And your frustration is because you lay there in a three-dimensional place, confused because you don't know which one is right. What if they're all right? And if you start to understand that they could be, I would say you are starting to step into that multidimensional place where God resides. And the divinity in you is starting to show itself as you have an understanding. What shall I be this year? Shall I write the book that's always been there, even though I don't think I'm an author? Shall I stand in front of people and teach, even though I'm not an orator? Well, yes, you are, and yes, you are. Your passion can change from time to time, depending upon the energy of the crystalline grid, where you're living. Did you hear that? And who you think you are. Don't be surprised if as your self-worth increases and you work on yourself, your passion will change for what you think you want to do. And what is it that's going on there, dear one? You have just elevated yourself, brought forward things in your Akash, married yourself to different concepts that are multidimensional. And then there are those around you who go, look at that person who can't make up their mind what they want to do. And Spirit looks at you and say, blessed is the human who knows they can do many things. There is no such thing as a contract. There's only the various passions you come in with. And you're going to notice something about most of them help other people. It's the compassion factor. What is it that you can do which is compassionate? Can you write a song and give it to another person? And what will be their reaction if you do? Their heart might melt. When Beethoven wrote Ode to Joy, do you think that he foresaw millions of hearts that melt? I doubt it. But that was his contract of the day. Is there poetry in you? Is there compassionate thought? Can you create a sculpture? And you might say, no, that's not for me. I don't do any of those things. I'm not good with my hands. Yes, but you might be good with your heart. When somebody comes to you at work and wants to share something with you, are there words you can give them that would melt their heart? And that might be your contract for the day. Blessed is the human being who understands that the compassion they have in them is the true contract of God. And what they do with that in any direction, pulling upon their Akash or not, is what they're supposed to do. And that's number one. Don't decide you failed because you can't find one thing you're good at. Because as an old soul, you might be good at 50 things, really good at them. Really good at them. And you might start changing what you do every day. And the humans around you will think you're wishy-washy because you can't get a grasp on 3 dimensions. And you can just smile and know they're right. Because you have decided to take on the attributes of a compassionate God. I don't understand, you might say, these kinds of things, Kryon, because they're a little tough to conceive of. You had trouble with that one? Wait till you hear this one. You are advanced enough, dear ones, to listen to this. So I can plant the seeds of truth that are so bizarre to you that you may not believe it, understand how it could possibly be, work with it, because it's not in your reality, but eventually you'll know. And here it is. Let us start with the simplicity of God. That's a dichotomous statement. Do you have any trouble praying to God when you know somebody else is also? In your world, if you were going to talk to someone, including a spiritual leader, you'd take turns, wouldn't you? If somebody's talking to them, you wait in line, don't you? Do you do that with God? No. Why? And the answer is because you know God can hear multiple messages at the same time. Do you have any trouble with being in one part of the world or another part of the world or traveling from one to another and speaking to Spirit? No. What do you know about Spirit? Spirit will be in all places at once. Really? What does that tell you about Spirit? God is omnipresent. God is always with you. Spirit knows every heart, every mind. This is your mantra. I'm not giving you information you don't know. But have you ever analyzed what it might mean? It might mean that God is quantum. Outside of your reality and a quantum state, God can be everywhere at the same time, entangled with you forever. No time, no space, no distance, no singularity. Everywhere, all the time. Now, follow the logic. What are you learning here on the planet? That God is in you. I gave you the information about the splendor in your DNA. That the higher self is represented. Angelic layers are there. That chemically you're alive with God. It's inside your corporeal attributes. God is in you. Not just spiritually, but chemically. You are imbued with the divine attributes of a creator. And there you sit thinking you're singular. And you're not. Therefore, as my partner brought up today, many of you don't understand. You yourself, your name goes here, are multiple. Beyond your wildest dreams. And what I'm going to tell you next, you will not understand because you have a clock. And it's a singular one. And this is going to be tough. I'm going to talk about the agreement, not the contract. The agreement to a system of love. And some of you are going to relate to this. It's beautiful. It's beyond beautiful. The system of love. I've spoken about this one other time. A system of love, and it has to do with family. This is not about chemistry. This is about the attributes of the love of a compassionate God who is inside you, who honors those who are in sorrow because they don't know the truth. Now go slow, my partner, for you are receiving a great deal of information all at once, and I can tell you're struggling to know where to begin. If you have a circle presented, And the circle has a message that is complete and total as a circle. If you take it apart and begin anywhere in the circle, that means you leave out the rest. And that is the struggle my partner has right now, because I am trying to give him a place to start. You have an agreement that in death, only part of you leaves, the corporeal part. Part of you remains on the planet, and it doesn't go to the crystalline grid. It goes to your Akashic relatives. That's a good start, my partner. Hello, I'm Lee Carroll.
And because we have been talking about Indigenous wisdom, Indigenous knowledge, and for thousands of years before what we consider modern civilization, the planet was populated by the Indigenous. And take a moment to connect with the pieces and parts of your Akash that hold Indigenous wisdom and knowledge. And as you connect to your Indigenous wisdom and knowledge, are there any messages that Indigenous self, that Indigenous aspect of yourself wishes to communicate with you? And you don't need to hear or feel the answer immediately, but just allow for the possibility of receiving communication from your wise, ancestral, Indigenous self. And now, allow yourself to release any ideas of expectations of how you will receive it, because that request is in the field and it will come to you as you need it. And right now, the message of Kryon is being delivered to you, and there is an answer for you to receive.
Greetings, dear ones. I'm Kryon of Magnetic Service. Again, I will say that spirit is not in a vacuum, is not in the dark. That the love of God is everywhere. The love of spirit, the creative source, is always with you, always with you. This is a theme that we have repeated and repeated now for 31 years. And yet sometimes it's not understood or appreciated or known. It's like God stands on a wall or on the other side of the wall, or something you have to get to or go through in order to be heard. It's not that way. This is a healing meeting. And in a little while, again, I will give you the meditation, which takes you across the bridge, as we always do. It's a sameness that you can count on. It's a consistency of energy where you can sit in a chair and feel the love of those around you. But right now, in this particular channel, I want to do something similar. On the planet, at this moment, there are so many suffering. And it's a different kind of suffering. There's always suffering at some place on the planet, but right now, it's different. For you truly are in the middle of a 2020 year of the virus. And in that, society has been disrupted. The normalcy that you had is gone for now. It will return, dear ones. It will return differently, dear ones. And we have discussed that. I'm not here, again, to review the reasons for the virus. I want to talk about those who are suffering because of the virus. And I'm not talking about medically at all. I want to talk about those who are in distraught, can't sleep at night, have had things happen in their lives because of this, or have had things happen in their lives that seems accidental to this, but it still lays on them in a heavy way. There are many leaving the planet right now. There are many leaving the planet right now that have nothing to do with the virus. History will show that the death rate, apart from the virus, is a bit higher than normal. I've said it before, that when your body is in fear, anxiety, stress, dear ones, it may sound a bit dramatic, but it starts to shut down. A slow shutdown. You start dying as soon as you start fearing on a regular basis, and your life will not be as long. That's how important it is to get out of fear. We've spoken of how disappointing it is that those who would lead you, meaning that informed press that you have, would lead you into information often gives you fear. And so you're surrounded not only by a situation which is troubling and anxiety-ridden, but to make it worse, those you would go to for support or information perhaps in your press, or those you would trust, would have no good news for you. The combination of that is unhealthy, to say the least. And so many right now are in that position. So I want to talk about that for you. And I want you to come with me. Come a little closer. And I want to tell you something. We'll start with this story. My partner once asked a commercial pilot. He was getting on a plane and he asked the commercial pilot, he says, what keeps you going? You have bad days and good days and all that. And your schedule, I see, is really, you're flying all the time. What really keeps you going? And the pilot smiled and he said, we learned a long time ago, many of us, that no matter what kind of a day we're having, that when we get above the clouds, the sun is always shining. It's true. If you've ever taken off from an airport in a commercial flight and there's storms and dark clouds, when you get above the clouds, it's a nice day. And what he was trying to say and did was that it's always a nice day where he was going to go, above the clouds. I would like to use this metaphor for you to cognize something, no matter how you're feeling at this moment. The love, compassion, caring is always there. It doesn't go away because you're having a bad day. It's always there. You tend to build a wall in your depression. Very common. The wall of depression, anxiety, fear starts to block you from all good things. It takes away your feeling of peace, laughter. Starts to change a good name, a good, I would say, personality to one that isn't. It starts to change who you are, and you know that. It's interesting what depression will do. You're either losing weight or you're gaining weight, but you're not staying the same. And you know that something is different, and you know what it is. So let's go someplace, you and I, just for a moment. You're going to hear the circle of 12 just like you always did. But I want to give you something similar. As you just sit there, do you give permission for this anxiety, this fear, this lack of peace to change? Do you or not? You'll notice that at every single channel, whether it's crossing the bridge or that's just a meditation, the first thing we do is we ask you whether it's okay. And that is because there is a free choice that is needed. Gone are the days, dear ones, when you're simply going to sit in the chair and be visited by the angel of peace. You're going to have to say, I give permission. You're not going to have someone else do it for you, dear ones. You're going to do it yourself, but not with grand and great effort. No stairs to climb. Just permission. Do you give permission to change right now? To find some joy where you didn't before? And if you do, let me take you there. To a place where you can sit, take a breath. And I want you to know that the arms of Spirit are going to open those clouds of doom right now. Because you've given permission, you've also told your cellular structure that it doesn't have to go into dis-ease. It doesn't have to go into that place which is unhealthy. And it will start cooperating with you as soon as you've given permission, because now you sit in a place that you didn't before. And I want you to envision, if you wish, all of the entities that you can even imagine that you would respect. All of those masters and all of those angels who have come through the gloom, because you see, it's a sunny day on the other side. That means there's joy and compassion and love and all those things that you wanted to have, and they're coming through that clouds, and you are the target today. Can you feel this? Can you understand where I'm going with this? And they are headed for your chair right now because you have said yes. Dear Spirit, I'm not a victim anymore of this planet. I am not a victim of this world. Things don't happen to me. At some level, you have given permission, because you've closed that hole in the clouds, for random things to take place instead of being shielded by that beautiful idea that there is a consciousness in you that actually is seen by God. They're here now. They're at that chair. They're where you are. And right now, I want you to feel their arms around you. And if you could hear them saying anything at all, they'd say, why did you wait so long? Why did you wait so long? Here, let me lift you up. Here, let me take you for a moment above those clouds. Let me show you that the sun is always shining. Let me show you that there is joy here, that we care about you. We know your name, and we love you. We love you. And if they could give you a message, it would say, don't let the clouds close over you. Don't let it happen. When is still there. It didn't go away. The idea that God somehow doesn't know you or hasn't seen you or has forsaken you is something you made up. You did. Or something was told to you. It's always a sunny day. The love of God is always there if you would allow it. If you allow it. We're going to come back in a little bit and start the circle of 12. Dear ones, God knows your name. That ought to tell you everything. And so it is.